Andy, exciting day today. Not only do people get to hear us today, but if you've got certain capabilities, you'll be able to see us. We're trying the video podcast out today, Andy.
Certain
Um,
capabilities. I like the way you say that. It makes it sound like you've got some special powers or something to view the video.
I feel special. I put on my dapper blue shirt,
You look good.
augments my eyes. You've done your hair really well, Andy. I think it looks nice.
Thanks. I feel good. Looking good.
Yeah, so okay, since we're going to be on video, you're going to have to
Oh,
explain your t-shirts because you like to come onto these podcasts with t-shirts, Andy. So explain.
Dave, I mean, I can't always promise, an awesome shirt, but this is one I always love. You probably recognize those two characters. Obviously, the legendary Hulk Hogan and maybe the most fun wrestler of all time, Francis Andre the Giant, right? So icon versus icon, the great clashes they've had over the years, including at several WrestleMania events and many Saturday nights for kids like us, Dave, staying up, and no Saturday Night Live this week because it's Saturday night's main event as Hulk Hogan would square off against some
That's right.
superstar like Andre or others, Macho Man Randy Savage, whoever it was. So today's T-shirt celebrates that legendary, confrontation between those two as Hulk Hogan eventually picked up and slammed the Giant. So it was a fun part of the wrestling universe at the time.
Yeah, so for those who may not follow wrestling as much as we did growing up, or as much as I still keep in touch with it today, Andre the Giant, better known in some respects of being in Princess Bride, one of the
Right.
great roles of. I think it was an iconic role in movie history, to be frank, Andy. Did you ever see the Andre the Giant documentary they had a couple years out?
I don't know if I did. I don't know if I did. I think the only one I saw was The Ultimate Warrior, who I was a big fan of. But I don't think I
Yeah,
saw the Andre one. I might have to check that out.
I know you put on your face paint growing up and all that other stuff, but the Andre documentary was really good. It was sad in some respects because, a person, I think, when you have fame in one area, he was so big. I think there was the sad part of his personal life where he struggled with being the biggest, tallest person
Yeah.
around, and
Yeah.
it was just so domineering. But I mean, the stories of him told there about how much he drank too, unbelievable,
Yeah.
unbelievable. But
Yeah.
Andy, so that was good. So we can start off with a little bit of that, and then we'll see how that goes over the course of our podcast. But Andy, we have to start with the sports check-in.
You don't
And
have to.
look, I mean, it wasn't a great sports weekend for me either. But how are you doing? How you feeling?
So let me like I'll be honest, right? So this was gonna be a hard game for the Lions. They went in and I mean they got the shit kicked out of them on every side of the football in Baltimore. Almost decided to go to that game last minute, and I'm grateful that I didn't because I would have been an angry fan, to be honest with you, Dave. But this happened last year. The Lions played an absolute garbage match against the Panthers last year, bounced right out of it, and had a couple really good games against the Vikings and the Packers. You never want to see your team play that badly. I mean, it was terrible football all around. But at the same time, it happens. You have one throwaway game a year. You live. If you're going to lose to Lamar, who is playing just fantastic football, and the Ravens just dominated all aspects of the game. I mean, that game was over before it even got started. It was just dominating. So it stinks, but the Lions will bounce back. The Lions have a Monday night game up against the Raiders this coming week, and so like they're going to win that game and they're going to win it handedly. I feel pretty confident about that. And they're still going to end up with 11, 12 wins on the season. They're still going to win the division because the division is garbage. They're still going to win a home playoff game. So, terrible weekend. You get one of those, I think, a season. As a fan, I'm going to move on. The Lions are 5-2, still sitting in a great place in the NFC. I think I'm all right.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, you hit a point there. Is like if you're going to lose a game, losing in Baltimore to Lamar, who's playing, he's MVP quality right now. I mean, he's
Yeah,
really good. That Baltimore defense is really good.
really good.
I know they've had a stinker loss or two, but the reality is it's 17-week season. They are going to play the Raiders. The Raiders, I think, have put up 20 points one time this year. So
They're
I'm not
terrible.
They're terrible. So, well, I'm glad you've got a good spin on it, Andy. They do they I would expect them to bounce back. I mean, my team was off, so it was a good weekend for me. Other than Penn State did lay an egg on Saturday. Look, I think you know, I was kind of like you in some respects. I knew this was going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of confidence in the offense. I knew the defense was going to play really well, and they did. The defense was amazing. They gave up 20 points, but really the reality was it probably should have been a lot more on other teams. Their just offense is just not there yet, and they've got a second year quarterback. I mean, this is his first year starting, Drew Aller. I mean, they just don't have the wide receivers, whatnot. But so that was my regrettable sports weekend. But I do have a little bit of a like I'm encouraged coming out of the weekend. Have you seen the stories about Michigan, Andy? Like
I
the
have seen, yeah. I just started seeing those yesterday, and I was not the best stories.
Yeah, not the best stories. Sign stealing and
Yeah,
look, it coincides with. So I mean, Michigan for the last 3 years has been really good. I mean, they've been and they've beaten Ohio State twice, 2 years in a row, which they hadn't beaten Ohio State for in, I don't know, 15, 16 years or something. It was a long running time. Um, and then they've gone like 30-3 the last 3 years. They've been really good. They've been to the playoff. Devin last year, I can't remember if it was the year before that too, but they've done really well. And now this sign stealing thing comes up, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I heard, I heard some reporting that the individual who's at the center of it was a former Marine or in the Navy. He was in the Navy, so but I think in the part of the Marine Corps. Um, as I guess he is really good at decoding signals, and so that's I think the center of it. It'll be interesting to see the connection. Of course, the university is going to shy away from it and say, "Oh, we don't know anything about that. He was doing rogue stuff.
rogue. Yeah, yeah,
He was out on his own. He was only a paid, administrative assistant. He wasn't actually on." So
yeah.
I'm sure all that stuff will come out. But my guess, Andy, is this is probably Jim Harbaugh's last year. He doesn't want to deal with the college stuff anymore. Why would you? I mean, frankly, he's being investigated by the NCAA for other things.
Yeah.
So it is going to be interesting to see how all this plays out over the next couple weeks or so.
Yeah, I agree. Just since you brought up the name, I'll just say, while I'm fine with the Lions losing to the Ravens, and even more so given the Niners blew it against the Vikings last night, which was not expected. But I am not a John Harbaugh fan. I think that guy is a very poor coach who's ridden some really good players over the years, and I don't think he's the guy to keep in Baltimore. I think them signing Lamar, which they almost didn't do, which I thought was insane, but they did sign him. If they don't go out there and win a playoff game this year, I'm not sure that Harbaugh sticks around much longer. They might ask him to leave. So I think they can bring in somebody that's better, that can work with Lamar better. Their OC obviously did a great job scheming up the game yesterday or Sunday. So I'm hoping that maybe both Harbaugh brothers are on their way out and onto greener pastures.
Yeah, the Harbaugh brothers. I mean, what was it, 2012? I mean, I was at the Super Bowl when the Ravens went to. Me and a couple of our good friends from Maryland went to see Maryland play San Francisco, the Harbaugh Bowl, and I was a little nauseating. I do like John, but it is. I can appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think they have a talent with Lamar, and you really need to take advantage of it. And if they're gonna stay stagnant, then I do think something could change there. So Andy, good sports check-in to start with. Let's go to top of mind topics. So anything on your end, Andy, top of mind?
I do, Dave. I've got so much on my mind. I don't even know where to start. So let me see. Can I start off with sort of something if that was entertaining? I won't spend any time there, but I'll just share. Just are you seeing all the sort of Sidney Powell, Donald Trump goings on right now?
Oh yeah, it's quite amusing. So
it is. So I won't spend time here, but I want to share. I shared a thread yesterday. Some of Mr. Trump's allegations and comments are always just very interesting, right? And with the amount of time he spends on social media, there's a record of everything he says, right? So just as he sort of makes his comments about his relationship with Sidney Powell, what her role was or was not, it just reminded me of Bill Clinton back in '98, and this Bill sat up there and was like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. that to me was Trump, right? I did not have legal relations with that woman, but he clearly publicly said she was part of the team. So, neither here nor there. Just thought it was entertaining. I think he's just an entertaining character to follow. But I'm going to go to one of my other.
Wait, hold on. I just want to say that's like right out of the Trump playbook, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
oh yeah.
it is like they're best buddies when they're out there. There's video evidence of all this stuff. I mean, she was head of the legal team against the 2020 lie. I mean,
Never happened. Never happened, Dave.
and then now all of a sudden, oh no, she was not. Yeah, okay, we'll see how it goes. I mean, as all these people start flipping now that the actual the charade is over, all these people start flipping. It will be interesting to see. So I'll let you get back to the rest of your top of mind
Yeah.
topic.
So let me go. So nothing but stellar gentlemen have led this country in my adult life, right? Nothing but superstars. So, Bill Clinton, who I just mentioned, I think we both got commissioned under President Bill Clinton. That pained me then. It pains me today, right? Not necessarily the guy I would have had, chosen to be my first commander in chief, but he was. So be it. Then the guy that replaced him is probably my somehow least favorite president of all time, and I'm talking about George W. Bush, the second Bush. And I know, some people enjoy Bush at many levels. Some people still enjoy his presidency. Some people think he did a great job, with the war on terror. Some people enjoy him for his sort of older man charm with Michelle Obama and his cute little paintings over the years. And look, I'll just put my cards on the table. I fucking hate George W. Bush, right? So there's not even like there. I have no appetite for the guy whatsoever. So he popped up. He came out of his little hedgehog hole in Texas, wherever he is, and he was sharing some comments and perspective at a private event in California. Axios wrote about it. Politico wrote about it, and I want to get into his comments. He was talking about Israel and Gaza and his perspective on what's happening there and how President Biden should handle that situation. And here's the thing, Dave. Like, George W. Bush is an asshole, right? And I take it very personally, right? I mean, I served under him for most of my military service. I served under his debacle of leadership while I served in Iraq, and I served under his leadership again when I went to serve in Afghanistan. And like I said, I do not care for him as a person, let alone as a leader, because of the way I feel he treated our military and the absolute criminal, actions in blood and treasure lost to his reckless and piss poor leadership. And so for me, until he apologizes, which he'll never do, to the military and American families, and those internationally, but especially to our American families that he wrecked, through his what I consider very failed leadership. Like, I don't give a shit about his opinion on how to handle the situation in Iraq. I'm sorry, in Israel and Gaza, or in Russia and Ukraine, or anywhere else. Like, he can opine about the road situation in Houston, Texas. He can complain that Joel Osteen's church is taking up too much space on the highway, as folks come into to Lakewood or whatever he wants to talk about in his local neighborhood. But hey, I don't care about his opinion on the world stage, because he was a terrible leader that left the world in a terrible situation. We just left Afghanistan recently, Dave. We were there for my entire children's lifetimes, right? And they're adults. So, I could ramble on. I can spend hours sharing my opinions here on him, but let me pause, because I don't know if you necessarily share those same views. I know you got a little more patience and tolerance than I do. So, what are your thoughts on W?
Well, listeners, I've been waiting for Andy to come out about his George W. takes for quite some time now. I've known privately what Andy has felt about the former president. And look, if you want to say that Andy is a hater of Donald Trump, he is equally much a hater of all of our leaders, Democrat, Republican, whatever. If you fail in any way, shape, or form to live out your task, Andy's going to hold you accountable. And so I've been dying for this. So when Andy put this in our little chat for a topic he wanted to cover today, I just knew it was going to be great. So look, Andy, I don't disagree. Look, I do think there were some things with the former president, George W., that I did appreciate. I did appreciate some of his ways that he could connect and relate to some people. That said, obviously as a person who also deployed multiple times to different parts of the world under his leadership. And I'm proud to serve. I'm proud to do the mission that we were there to do, but more proud to serve with those and to protect those that I was there with who were in similar situations. I think you feel the same way. Is that we had a fundamental failing, and instead of deciding to take chances and to take alternative courses of action at various points in time, they doubled down. And I put that on the hands of Donald Rumsfeld too.
Oh yeah.
If
Oh
you
yeah.
talk about somebody who I cannot look at anywhere, would be Donald Rumsfeld. I think, and look, when he came on board and he was full of piss and vinegar, I was like, yes, yes. But I was a young 23, 24-year-old Army officer who, of course, wanted to scrap and wanted to fight. But at that point in time now, you look back at it and what a fundamental bungling. I mean, some of his statements, you go to the war with the army you have, not with the army you want. All that stuff was just garbage.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the individuals that really let down this country. And I think when I look at, and frankly, that's what I look at leadership nowadays is I'm tired of saying, well, this elected official is, yes, he lacks experience, he lacks charisma, he lacks the institutional knowledge, but he'll surround himself with smart people.
Yeah.
No, actually, those people surround themselves with people who are just going to say yes to them and agree with their policies, however right or wrong it is. And I think we have some of these things, and it's just really disappointing that, I mean, you go back to Clinton. I mean, let's look at all of those presidents since that time, and I think again, this just continues our theme, Andy. It's like politics in general is just chaotic. It's caustic. It's toxic, and I think at the expense of it is the American people, and which I think is really unfortunate at this point. Look, you can say George W. did some good things here. He helped during 9/11. What I got it. And George Bush's policies with AIDS in Africa, that was a really great policy. But like you said at the other times, every president will do some things that are good. But I mean, let's not forget we had Katrina there too. The poor response to Katrina. I mean, it's just continues to befuddle me, and so yeah, I'm with you. Maybe I don't swear as much on that front, Andy, but I get your point for sure. So
well, I mean, I appreciate it, and I mean, we can get back into some of these more specifically, at a later time, and I'll try and maintain my composure as best I can. But
no, I love it.
but I mean, I voted for President Bush in 2000 because I liked his approach, the whole idea of compassionate conservatism. I bought in, and it was I think everybody was in his corner when he was leading us post 9/11. I mean, hell, Rudy Giuliani was America's hero post 9/11, and that guy's batshit crazy, right? So there was a time, and he had his moments, but and again, it's a longer discussion, but the follow-on events that led into Iraq during the early stages of Iraq and the long, endless deployment of Afghanistan for multiple reasons, right? Not just the personal disruptions to my life. That's something you sign up for as a soldier, as an officer. Like that's accepted. That's not the issue. It's the failed leadership and what that cost this country and her sons and daughters, in our financial situation that really angered me. And you mentioned it's Donald Rumsfeld, it's Dick Cheney. Sadly, it ruined Colin Powell for me, right? A man that I really looked up to, admired, respected greatly. And when he sat there in front of the UN and pushed for what was a bad justification for the war in Iraq, right? Knowingly, it really lost a lot of stock value. So really damaged the career of somebody that gave his life to serving this country and served it well. So lots of reasons to be upset. Again, we can get into it. I'm sure some folks listening have different opinions, and I can share some of the reasons of what happened in Iraq and how things happened in Afghanistan that really disappointed me in his leadership. But that's another story for another day. But main point of all this, Dave, is George W. Bush, shut up. That's my point here. Right.
I don't know why we give them the microphone anymore. Like, what do we think is going to be said? Like, why do we think we should value their opinion and views at this point in time, anyways?
Yeah.
Like, I'm befuddled by a lot of that. You don't hear much from Clinton anymore, thank goodness. I think maybe because Hillary's out of the spotlight. Obama is playing golf every day, which I think is honestly, I think it's a fundamental waste. Here's a person who probably could be benefiting the world some way,
Yeah.
regardless of what you think about Obama. Again, I didn't vote for him either time, but he has value. He's a young guy still. But so, Andy, let's move on to another topic. Or I'm sorry, did you want to say anything else?
I think we'll see more of Obama when
Yeah.
Joe Biden isn't president. To be honest, I think he's given Joe Biden the opportunity to be president without sitting in Obama's shadow. I mean, like Obama's charismatic, Biden looks like death. I think he's just trying to give him the opportunity to lead. But I think we'll see more of President Obama in the future. Like I said, he's a young man with a lot of time ahead of him, and could potentially serve as a good elder statesman, for this country in the future. But again, so we can get into another time. There are other topics to get into, Dave. So ready to pivot if you are.
All right, so Andy, where do you want to go next? We've got a couple other topics on the thing. You had mentioned something about casinos in Virginia, and look, I like to gamble. I don't say I would do it regularly. I don't bet on sporting events or anything like that, but I do like to gamble. I enjoyed my time going to Vegas over the years. I had some fun times there. When I was in Maryland, they passed legislation to start bringing casinos into Maryland, and they popped them up real quick. There was one in downtown Baltimore. There was one where I was living in like the Columbia, Ellicott City area. And so that spurned up real quickly. And now the same thing is happening in Virginia, I think, Andy. Is that what's going on there?
Well, we approved, the ability for casinos to operate in the Commonwealth a while back, and I think we have now. I think we're up to 4 maybe that are operating in the state. But there's been recent efforts to there's a developer looking to put a casino into Northern Virginia and in the Reston area, and right now there's a lot of discussion about putting one into Richmond, our state's capital. And the local communities, for different reasons, the local government organizations or community organizations, there's been pushback against it, which is fine. I mean, I think the community should have those discussions about what they want to see. But at the end of the day, I don't gamble. I don't have the patience to do it. I don't the idea of losing like $2 in a gambling event like pisses me off, right? So I don't personally gamble, but there's a lot of things that I don't do that I think you should be allowed to do, right? So if somebody's got the resources to build a casino, the property is available, and they're willing to invest in it, like, I don't think anybody should tell them not to do that. I mean, like, either the business is going to succeed or fail because either the community supports it financially or doesn't. I mean, to me, in Virginia, it's a potential great revenue generator. It builds jobs. It creates an opportunity for people to, something else to do, attracts others, from outside the state to come in. Like, the arguments tend to be, we don't worry about crime. We don't want these kinds of jobs. Hey, jobs are jobs, man. If somebody's going to take the position, like, I'm all for it. So I hate to see pushback against things because individuals or groups don't really want, that type of business in their community, because let the people decide. Every time we buy something, every time we rent something, every time we spend $1, we're casting a vote either in favor of or not of something, right? So if people are going to go and spend money at a Reston casino or Richmond casino, hey, they're saying they want it. And if they want it, like, bugger off with your objections, right? It's not your place to tell them what they can or can't have. Now, if there's criminal issues or whatever you're worried about, like, that's a different issue, right? That's what law enforcement's for, right? That's what police are for. That's what that whole judicial process is for. But the businesses themselves, like, Virginia needs to be pro-business, pro-opportunity. And when we see this kind of pushback, it just frustrates me, because we should be encouraging businesses to grow, to develop, to invest. And I hate it when I see, personal issues, personal objections countering that, right, to the detriment of our fellow citizens and to our economy. So, Dave, I just want to kind of put that out there. And, I don't know if I'm glad to hear that you enjoy some gambling. I think both of us probably should stay away from betting on our sports teams maybe this coming week or so. But, it's just to me, it's frustrating when government gets in the way of the market and of people that are willing to take some risk and try something. And winner succeed, winner fail. That's how the results get shown, right? Either you have economic success or you don't. The business thrives or it doesn't. Anyway, again, I could rant on this for a while, but it's an issue that's been very topical here in Virginia. We have elections coming up in 2 weeks here in the Commonwealth. We do our elections a little bit off the usual calendar. So big election, I get more junk mail every day than you can imagine. And I voted 3 weeks ago, right? I don't need any more mail propaganda, but it's insane. So I'm looking forward to us, putting a fork in this election season and moving on.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think casinos, much like other type of like the things that go against your morality clause. It's so funny how we pull that card out when we want to apply that. I'm for all these other things, but the one thing I'm going to die on the vine on is people gambling money that they own and earn. And look, I hear all the counter arguments. There's going to be crime, there's seedy people. That's just honestly, I just don't buy into that. There's a lot of ways that you can police that. There's a lot of ways that you can manage that. And to your point, Andy, I do agree wholeheartedly that the business, just because it's a casino doesn't mean it's going to thrive. It has to do some of its own work. And if it fails, if the community doesn't support it, it'll go away in short order. They're not small investments. They are what they are. And to your point too, Andy, is like, look, these are opportunities for jobs. These are opportunities for other businesses to actually benefit from some of this stuff. So look, I'm not gonna. This is not one of these things that I'm gonna to throw out my stuff on, especially when I know I do all these other things on the side. So I think it's just a little bit crazy. I do agree with you. It is a little bit crazy to see how those things work. But what's the bubbling up here? Is there some sort of culminating point here on this, Andy, or is there?
I've got to look when the national decision should be. I don't know if it's being. I think it's on the ballot, if I recall, in Richmond. I think it'll be decided here in these next couple of weeks, I believe. Yeah. So we'll see. The Reston one already got shut down process wise. I think that's been closed before the discussion really got going. But I think Richmond is going to be, I believe, on the ballot. I could be mistaken in that, but we'll see. Either way, I think there's going to be continued efforts, I think, to bring some gambling revenue into the state more. And so I think Danville was our first casino, and we'll see where it goes in the weeks and months ahead. But it's good to have these discussions, and I agree with how you phrase it. I should know. My first birthday with my wife, as we were both still students at George Mason, was my 21st birthday, and we celebrated that in Atlantic City at the casinos. And I don't even know if I think I played like 2 rounds of blackjack, and like instantly lost and was done with that too, because I have no appetite for it. But a good memory as we went to New Jersey, and I think we should encourage more great memories being made at casinos, Dave. That's what I'm here to support.
There we go. Let's make casinos great again, Andy. Let's make casinos. Atlantic City brings back so many memories for me too. It's almost nothing now. It is like a shadow, and people will say, well, it's because the casinos popped up elsewhere, but maybe it's just been Atlantic City was poorly managed and poorly run, and Donald Trump had his fingers in that somewhere along the line too. I think he owned most of that place, and look how that turned out. But he had nothing to do with it, I'm sure it was nothing to do. So, all right, Andy, I think that's taken us near our time for this first video podcast of our.
Exciting.
I think you look well, Andy, and I appreciate the Men of a Certain X logo on the back there.
Well, it couldn't be a Lions one today. I'm sure. Hopefully they'll be back, but I felt like today I had to do something different. So
I'm gonna have to step up my game. I just got the blurry image there, Andy. I'll have to find some way to
put. It brings out the blue in your shirt and your eyes, though. So today I think it works. You look damn handsome, Dave. So
thank you.
It works.
I do appreciate it. I'm verklempt, so you make me out. So, all right, Andy. If nothing else, then we will check you out later this week.
All right.